Again, the woman on the right is constructed. She's 27 years old. It's like she's human trafficked. She's blonde. She's white. That's the nature of the enemy. She even has controllers with her. Now she's a super soldier mouthpiece for the president. What's your competition? Well, who's supposed to be in charge right now? I would know this guy is not from MS-13. MS-13 is a Los Angeles gang. They usually have tattoos on their face. So this brilliant woman on the right is not too brilliant. She can't answer any questions. Go and look up press secretary. Google it and tell me if you think this woman is a press secretary. She just denies.
This afternoon. Can you shed some light on this? Because it was a story that we all covered. That he was the East Coast leader of MS-13.
No such thing.
So what was the evidence that supported that?
And where are they from? Where's the MS-13 from? El Salvador. Don, do you speak Spanish? Yes, I do. What does that mean? The Savior. Okay, he's the anti-fucking Christ. And it's a period.
Proclamation by the Department of Justice and the FBI.
Listen.
Here at the White House, we applaud the Attorney General Pam Bondi, our FBI Director Kash Patel, for working hand in hand with local law enforcement on the ground in the Commonwealth of Virginia to detain and arrest this MS-13 ringleader. There was sufficient evidence to do so, and now the case is in the hands of the Department of Homeland Security, who will be deporting this individual from our country. These agencies are working together in a collaborative way to follow President Trump's directive to eradicate MS-13 and foreign terrorists from United States soil. So this is an individual who was detained and arrested because of the president's policies, and he will no longer be residing in the United States of America. I'm just trying to get some clarity on it, Caroline, because if indeed he is what we were told he is, the East Coast leader of MS-13, wouldn't it make sense to prosecute him for crimes related to that? I know he was held on a gun charge, but to make sure that any victims of MS-13 through his leadership get their day in court here in the United States, and then send him to an El Salvador prison if he is deported and found guilty on those crimes. Well, again,
she will not answer that question. Because she's a 27-year-old kid. She doesn't know the answer to it. All she's going to do is repeat again and again that Trump in a statement, and it's not even Trump's statement. It'll be an AI-generated statement. She's the press secretary. Remember that. She has nothing to hide. She should be spilling her guts. We have tons of information. We have this. We have that. But if she's lying, she's not going to say anything.
And this administration is doing things differently, Martha. This president has made a directive to his agencies, particularly the Department of Homeland Security, to remove foreign terrorists from America's homeland to protect American citizens. And we have an incredible diplomatic relationship with the president of El Salvador and his government, who have been detaining these MS-13 ringleaders and violent gang members in their prisons. And American taxpayers don't have to foot the bill for that cost. And so again, the bottom line here, the report said that the Alien Act could be used to remove people, but they had to receive due process first. I'm only pressing on this because it was a huge story, and we covered it. Obviously, it would feel like that person could lead to a lot of other evidence. The DOJ would be pressing to see this in court so that other people could be exposed, and suddenly none of that's happening. So can you explain why the change of course in this particular case?
Again, I know it's going to sound funny to you, but it's the case in every single thing that Trump's done, that Doge has done, that all these people have done that are way too blonde for me, and I'm white. Let's not use El Salvador. Let's translate into English, okay? This guy from a group from the Savior is going to be shipped back to the Savior. It does matter. It does matter. If you've kicked out Jesus Christ, second coming, then maybe these Southerners will realize, oh, it's not going to be us? That's what's being done here. They want to get rid of, if you're the Antichrist, and you have misused somebody, are they on the crucifix? Let me ask you again, are they on the crucifix? Okay, so maybe we should chill, but no, they want to just get them out of here. They're turning this place into a target. We're a target.
Again, what I can tell you is that the president gave a directive to eradicate MS-13 ringleaders and gang members from our nation's communities. That is what's happening here. And
they can say, I'm from MS-13, bro. They can say anyone is from MS-13.
And to anyone who believes that these individuals should be living in America, the American people think differently. That's why they reelected this president by a historic margin.
We're just asking if he's, should be held in a prison somewhere until he faces justice in the country. But,
he should be removed from American soil, and that is the policy that this administration is following.
Okay. Lots obviously to talk about a big cabinet meeting that we just watched play out this afternoon, and lots of news made there. With regard to China and what we anticipate will come next with what has obviously turned into a full-blown trade war with China. Is it the White House policy at this point that we...
I can tell you I've not seen this yet. She's going to say, the president has already said, or the president's statement has said, the president and this and that. The president's not her husband. Her husband is her dad, basically, who's 60 years old. She's 27. She touts to be a hardcore Catholic because she's pro-life. Okay, then why did she get married in February, but she had the kid's baby only 3 months later? I don't care, dude. I used to fucking have sex with my girlfriend, and I'm Catholic. I'm saying she's manufactured. She's not real. She even has controllers around her. I'll show it to them here.
Should pursue really decoupling, given all of the lines that have been stepped over by China and the ripping off that China has done in the United States, as the president talks about.
It's the policy of this White House and the Trump administration to put America first, to bring back jobs that have been flawed overseas, to no longer allow China to dump cheap foreign products into the United States of America while they prevent American-made products from entering their market. China has been taking advantage of the American worker for decades. Both Democrats and Republicans have called on presidents to do something about this, to finally attack our crippling trade deficit with China and to also make them pay for the more than $600 billion they have stolen from American companies and taxpayers.
What about Israel? What about Israel?
Form of intellectual property. So the president has great courage to finally take on China in this way. He has said he's open to talks, he's open to negotiating a deal. He believes China wants to talk to the United States of America. They just don't know how to go about it. We've had more than 75 other nations across the globe reaching out to this administration because they know this is the greatest country to do business. And those deals are underway. They are being negotiated by the president's trade team. But America cannot exist if we continue to enrich and embolden China. And President Trump is finally doing something about it.
There's a number of companies that China has put on the blacklist. Some of them are defense companies that are providing equipment and weaponry to Taiwan. Does the White House feel at this point that it is safe for U.S. companies to pursue business agreements with China?
Well, the president has made it very clear that he wants companies to do business right here in the United States of America. And we have seen companies around the world, many of them who do business in China, are investing back in the United States of America because of this president and his America First policies, which is not just an America First trade agenda and tariff agenda, it's also tax cuts. The House just passed the Reconciliation reconciliation package today, or at least the framework for it, that continues to move forward. We also see massive deregulatory efforts underway. We see an energy incoming boom in this country. Oil prices are already down 20%. We had an inflation report out today. CPI index is down second month in a row. Consumer prices have dropped for the first time since COVID. There's great reason to be optimistic about America's economy. Trust in President Trump. Look at what he did in his first term. Companies would be best served doing business right here in the United States.
One last topic I want to get to with you, Caroline, while I have you, is this story that just crossed a little while ago in the Wall Street Journal about the White House wanting to have a consent decree over Columbia University in order to basically insist that if they're going to take any federal dollars, they have to follow the rules that the White House has laid down, especially with regard to anti-Semitism and other elements that the White House has clearly pushed back hard on these universities. I heard the president bring this up with the Education Secretary today. Explain to us what kind of control does this consent decree give the administration over Columbia and perhaps other universities as well?
I can tell you that the White House has been working hand in hand with Secretary McMahon and the Department of Education to bring these colleges and universities to the table to negotiate on behalf of Jewish American students who have felt threatened, who have been victims of violence and hate speech at our nation's higher education universities and campuses. And it's unacceptable to this president. And so as the Secretary of Education said in the cabinet meeting today, federal funding will be withheld until these universities comply with the administration's demands to keep Jewish American students on their college campuses safe and to eradicate anti-Semitism and hate speech from their campuses.
It's interesting that the Obama administration had consent decrees against universities as well. When it came to their policies on how sexual harassment issues would be dealt with on campus. So it is clearly not unprecedented for a White House to impose upon these universities that there are strings attached if they want federal dollars. So it's an interesting story. We'll keep an eye on it. Caroline, thank you very much. Always good to have you. Thank you.
Hey, search for missing Iowa woman Molly Tibbetts. The reward for information on her whereabouts has jumped significantly to $172,000. Tibbetts' father, Rob, lives in Fresno, but he's in Iowa today, drawing attention to the search. Our Fabiola Ramirez has the latest on this case.
This morning, they're grieving. A body believed to be Molly's found Tuesday in a cornfield.
Utter disbelief. Just in shock.
A 24-year-old undocumented immigrant, Christian Bahena Rivera, charged with first-degree murder. How did he get on your radar?
We came across an individual that had...
Only person online who shares an illegal alien in the murder of... And they charged an illegal alien in the murder of a college student, Molly Tibbetts. And the amazing thing is that everybody was talking about Molly. Beautiful, wonderful, incredible person. Everybody loved her. Everybody that met her loved her. And the father was saying, she's coming back, and I was watching and I was saying, maybe he's right. And this went on for a long time. When they found out that it was this horrible, illegal immigrant that viciously killed her.
The judge to block the media, but was denied.
The government has weighed in at the highest levels of a predisposition.
You heard about today with the illegal alien coming in very sadly from Mexico. And you saw what happened to that incredible, beautiful young woman. Should have never happened. Illegally in our country. We've had a huge impact, but the laws are so bad. The immigration laws are such a disgrace.
A federal immigration spokesperson tells Fox News that Rivera never submitted a DACA request and that there's no record he has immigration status. He's
First degree. 24-year-old Christian Bahena Rivera is originally from Mexico. Federal officials tell us he's an undocumented immigrant. According to the affidavit, Rivera told investigators he followed Tibbetts as she was jogging in Brooklyn, Iowa, July 18th. When Tibbetts said, "I'm going to call the police," he panicked, got angry, then his memory, quote, blocked until he remembered finding Tibbetts in his trunk, bleeding from the head. He says he left her body down this road in a cornfield. Rivera worked here at Yerby Farms. I know that Molly Tibbetts was killed with sharp force injury, according to the medical examiner's report, which came out late today. Christian Rivera, an illegal immigrant charged with carrying out that brutal murder, claims that he blacked out and that he has no recollection of the attack. Joining me now exclusively is Rivera's defense attorney, Alan Richards. Mr. Richards, welcome to the story. Thank you for being here tonight to answer some questions. He described what happened in pretty great detail in the police report. He talked about running behind her and then alongside of her. Then she said she was going to call the police. Then he panicked and got mad and says that he blacked out after that. Your response to the fact that it is now known that she died from sharp force injury?
I would have no comment on, those reports until I see the reports.
You haven't seen the medical examiner's report from your case?
As far as the death, I'm real sorry about the death. I'm not going to make any comment on a report until somebody testifies to in more detail concerning the matter.
So you haven't read the medical examiner's report with regard to your client that came out today. But anyway, so I just filled you in on the headline there, which is that she was killed with sharp force trauma, blunt force trauma, essentially, which indicates that she was hit hard with something hard enough to kill her, according to these reports. We also have this picture today of the cornfield where her body was found, and he described to the police in detail that he brought her to a secluded location. He carried her over his shoulder, took her about 20 meters into the cornfield, and then left her covered in some corn leaves and left her there face up. That's the report according to your client. Do you want to comment on that at all?
I understand that. That is what that is what the investigators are stating. As far as you're asking me, I've been here, I'm in Tama County. I've been in court proceedings most of the afternoon or morning here in Tama County. And I will have the opportunity to review those matters.
Okay. This is a soundbite that you said. I want to play something that you said that's gotten a lot of attention yesterday about your case. Let's play that.
And the law includes presumption of innocence and due process before critical mistake of saying the outrageous thing that Sorry Trump has been saying. And he said it about this case, which there's no premise in the history of our country for a man in that position, a sad and sorry Trump, should even be commented on him until we get past this presumption of innocence.
So why did you decide to bring the president into it?
Well, he's brought himself into it, and I think that people are buying into the concepts and notions that Mr. Trump is bringing forward. And at this stage in the process, it's not proper. I think there's a misconception of what the role of a defense attorney is. My role is to vigorously represent Christian, and my obligation is to the administration of justice in a manner that seeks out the truth, in a manner
that helps
people in societal problems in a rational, peaceful.
I understand what you're saying. I just think, in terms of the question of his immigrant status, ICE and his employer both verified today, because there was some confusion about it, both verified today that they consider him an illegal immigrant from Mexico. And I fail to see how that fact isn't, it's just a fact. I mean, if he was from Colorado and lived there for 20 years, we would know that. But we know that he's an illegal immigrant who arrived from Mexico and has lived in Iowa for 4 to 7 years. So I fail to see how that's irrelevant, or how bringing that in is not part of the facts that surround this case. How is it not?
That's rhetoric. The United States Constitution provides if you're not a citizen, you still are entitled to the jurisdictions of the courts and entitled to equal protection under the law.
I don't think anyone said he wasn't. What people are saying is that he arrived here illegally from Mexico 4 to 7 years ago.
That's your rhetoric on it.
It's not rhetoric. That's what the immigration officials are saying their reports indicate. He used a false name to work for an employer. They thought he was somebody else. We know that as well. These are the facts that are being dug up in the case. No one's making judgment on them themselves. They're just saying this is what we've learned so far about this individual. So why wouldn't that be relevant? This is his background.
You want to jump to say they're facts. Have these people been under oath? Have these people provided the opportunity for Christian to present his point of view on the matter?
It's not a point of view question. It's not a point of view question. Either he's here legally or he's not here legally. It's really not a point of view question. It's not a rhetoric question, sir.
That's maybe your point of view, Martha. We have a society here, an agrarian society, where these individuals are welcome here. They are accepted by the wealthy individuals that are running these companies, and they're a vital part to the community.
They may be, sir. You're talking apples and oranges. They may be accepted by the community. They may be brought in. The company that hired him says that he gave them a fake ID, that they ran that through their system of the Social Security system, is what they said, that they ran it through. He gave them a fake ID. So these are the facts. Whether or not they were welcomed to work there is that's fine. But he came here illegally is just part of the equation. So to say that that's bringing politics into it, I think you're putting rhetoric and point of view on it.
Well, you're trying to say that his state of mind was in such a way. We're dealing with an individual that has a middle school education, so his perception is entitled to equal protection and due process. Now, you could jump to it and just say, these are the facts, but that doesn't make them facts because you say so, Martha. The man is entitled
you just
to
gave
a
us
hearing
some
on
more
the
facts.
issue.
That he has an 8th grade education. These are facts. These are not emotional. This is his situation. This is how long he's been here, where he worked. This is the background. So I don't understand, why you're trying to put something else on top of it. Whenever you have a case, as you well know, as a defense attorney, you try to nail down what happened and who's involved and what their situation is. Now, and then I gotta go.
Well, the situation he's involved with concerning his status has nothing to do with the situation that unfortunately happened over there on that road in Brooklyn. I'm sorry. He's entitled to a hearing on the immigration issue,
which he will get. Exactly. Alan Richards, thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. It's an awful situation, and we hope that justice is served for this beautiful young woman who should
Molly Tibbetts is telling lawmakers who are immigration hardliners to stop making her death political. Anti-immigrant sentiments in Iowa went from bad to worse once an undocumented man from Mexico was charged with Tibbetts' murder. And then racist robocalls targeting Latinos in Des Moines started. And now a grieving dad is joining other Iowans in a fight against the rising anti-immigrant rhetoric. Here's CNN's Paula Sandoval.
Hey, Anna, you know, it's been about a week since the funeral of Molly Tibbetts was held. Since then, our family has been grieving in privacy. Well, yesterday, her father broke his silence with a message to politicians to stop using his daughter as a political pawn.
You saw what happened to that incredible, beautiful young woman. Should have never happened. Illegally in our country.
When some politicians and pundits have refused to listen, Molly Tibbetts' father says he had to ask again. In an op-ed in this weekend's Des Moines Register, Rob Tibbetts renewed his plea to have his murdered daughter left out of the immigration debate. He writes, "Some have ignored our request. They have instead chosen to callously distort and corrupt Molly's tragic death to advance a cause she vehemently opposed." Tibbetts' statement comes as nervousness and fear grow throughout the small farming region that was Molly's home. Because of the suspected killer's undocumented status, some members of Iowa's Latino community feel threatened. Last week, this graffiti was discovered on the street in Des Moines. Not in our city, responded officials on Twitter who later painted over the words. A white supremacist group has been calling Iowans with a message spewing hate, calling for a white America in the name of Molly Tibbetts.
She was stabbed to death by an invader from Mexico.
Another sign of nerves in the Latino community, two local festivals celebrating that culture were postponed. One group cited Tibbetts' murder as the reason for the cancellation. Joe Henry, a local Latino leader, is worried about the troubling climate in this part of the country.
Latinos are being threatened, both in social media and in neighborhoods.
A person came in from Mexico illegally and killed her. We need the wall. We need our immigration laws changed.
Some conservatives remain firm in blaming current immigration laws for the fate of this promising 20-year-old. But her father insists Molly was nobody's victim. Do not appropriate Molly's soul in advancing views she believed were profoundly racist, he wrote in his op-ed, nor is she a pawn in others' debate. Well, CNN also spent some time there in Brooklyn, Iowa, speaking to regular folks, many of whom told CNN that, they do largely support immigrants. They recognize that they form a very crucial part in their farming economy. They do, however, support making E-Verify a requirement throughout the state of Iowa. You recall that.
He claims another inmate admitted to the murder of Molly Tibbetts. Investigators found her body in a cornfield in 2018. Christian Rivera now faces a mandatory life sentence for her murder. We go live now to HLN's legal analyst, Joey Jackson. Good morning, Joey. Thanks for joining us. So when you hear about a tip from an inmate that heard something from another inmate, it doesn't seem like it's that credible, is it?
Cheyenne, good morning to you. So these things happen, and they happen with some regularity, actually, particularly in high profile and other matters. And so you certainly want to make sure that our system gets it right. What is that system? You have a jury trial here, you have a jury trial, testimony for 7 days, jury deliberating over 2 days thereafter, and finding him guilty. As you noted, he faces a mandatory life sentence as a result of that. But you want to ensure that that unanimous verdict is certainly sound, and in light of that, get information that comes up, you want to vet it, you want to see if it's credible, it's reliable, and if it is, then you want to do something about it.
They almost tipped, because the defendant almost tipped the sex trafficker off. That's what Gavin told me.
Now, you didn't tell this story until almost the very end of Mr. Bahena's trial. Right.
What's that?
You didn't tell any of this stuff until the very end of Mr. Bahena's trial.
Me?
Yes.
I haven't said nothing for a whole year because I didn't really believe him. And when I did believe him, I seen two clips on Fox News.
When you saw the clips on Fox News, what were the clips that caught your attention?
One of them, the first one was with the defendant. They were saying that he had a family and excuse me, and had no criminal record. And the second clip showed him, said that he didn't kill her and that he was set up by two men. And right there, I told myself, my conscience told me, I said I should say something, even if it's not true.
Okay. So based upon those clips, what did you do?
I went and talked to my boss at work. And
Chaplain?
Yes.
Now, are you getting any benefit out of telling this story?
No, I'm not.
You're not getting your sentence reduced?
No, I'm not.
So no matter what you say here today, you're still going to be out of prison in December.
Correct.
Nobody's offering you any money.
No.
No one's offering you any promises of a shorter parole, are they?
No.
What's the culture like in prison for people who come forward and testify in open court?
I have no idea.
Is it good?
Probably not, but I'd rather do the right thing.
After his guilty verdict, Christian Bahena Rivera's attorney says he deserves a new trial, and these court documents spell out why. The motion says new evidence came to light during the trial. That evidence is a state prison inmate who came forward claiming another inmate confessed to killing Molly Tibbetts while the two men were both in jail. This witness inmate says he initially thought the confession was made up, but then saw Rivera's testimony and believed it was likely true. Court documents show the inmate who allegedly confessed said he was staying in a trap house owned by a 50-year-old man involved in sex trafficking. He says he saw Molly Tibbetts bound and gagged, and that the sex trafficker hatched a plan to kill her. The inmate claimed he and another person carried out that plan to stab Molly Tibbetts and dump her body near a Hispanic male in order to make it appear that the Hispanic male committed the crime.
This is great. I mean, this is because it's so monumental.
Criminal defense attorney Trevor Hook says it's up to Judge Joel Yates to decide if all this is grounds for a new trial.
He has the tough job of assessing the credibility of these witnesses.
Yates ordered Mount Pleasant inmate Arnie Mackey to testify at a hearing Thursday. It's unclear if he's who confessed or who witnessed it. Mackey is set to be released later this year after serving time for punching his girlfriend and her child in the face.
Yes or no?
Rivera's attorneys who declined an interview Monday also claimed that a second and separate source came forward accusing the same inmate of killing Tibbetts. This person showed up to the Powashik County Sheriff's Office on May 26th and told deputies that the month before the man held a gun to their head and said that Mexican shouldn't be in jail for killing Molly Tibbetts because I raped her and killed her.
That's substantive enough evidence that I think, if true, would certainly warrant a new trial. It could certainly have changed the verdict.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Matt Breen. Stella has the week off. In May, Bahena Rivera was convicted of first-degree murder and the stabbing death of 20-year-old Molly Tibbetts. He was scheduled to be sentenced to that mandatory life prison term today. That was delayed after his attorneys claimed an Iowa prison inmate named Gavin Jones admitted to another inmate that he killed Tibbetts. They also claimed from witnesses her kidnapping was part of a sex trafficking ring. The defense is asking the state to share what they believe are details of several investigations they think would be related to the kidnapping and to Tibbetts' death.
Gavin Jones admitted to Arnie Mackey that he and another gentleman were the killers of Molly Tibbetts.
Iowa Assistant Attorney General Scott Brown objected to the request, claiming there's no discovery done after a trial. Brown said they complied with all pretrial discovery rules.
This is newly discovered evidence. This is a motion for a new trial. Right? If they want to try to find newly discovered evidence, they can go and try to find newly discovered evidence. We are under no obligation to go find newly discovered evidence because they want us to go looking for it.
A hearing to argue a defense motion for a new trial in that case is now set for July 27th. Part of the claims for Tibbetts' case to the disappearance of Xavier Harrelson of Montezuma, Iowa. That 11-year-old went missing back on May 27th. The defense claims that James Lowe is involved in sex trafficking and is connected in the Tibbetts case and in Harrelson's disappearance. Part of their request includes any sex trafficking investigations on Lowe, residents of Powashik County, and any adjoining counties.
I think that it would be preposterous to believe that the Christian Bahena and the Molly Tibbetts names did not come up in the Xavier Harrelson investigation. We have two people that went missing in incredibly small towns. And all we are asking is that Mr. Bahena be given a fair shot.
Anyone with information that could help investigators.
A jury convicted Rivera of first-degree murder in May, but his defense attorneys presented new evidence today that they say will clear him. The state then worked hard to poke holes in this new story. The defense called Arnie Mackey to the stand. He testified that another inmate confessed to him more than a year ago that he killed Molly Tibbetts and framed Rivera. Mackey says he is coming forward now after seeing Rivera's testimony on television during the trial. Mackey, who is serving time for domestic violence, says he is not getting a reduced sentence or anything for coming forward. Here's how he described the alleged confession he says he heard.
I killed her. I said, I don't believe you. And they said, he says, the guy that's being charged for it right now? I said, no, I don't. He's like, we set him up. He's like, there's a sex trafficking case going around. I stabbed her to death and put her in a tarp. Me and my black friend that doesn't speak English that good.
The state brought litigated and pretrial motions, the defense wanting to prevent the prosecution from claiming any sort of sexual assault because there's been no claim of that. And we've heard the investigators, the crime scene technicians, talk about testing these items found in the court built at the crime scene for seminal fluid, for semen. And there was not any positive and or conclusive finding of semen on any of the items. And given the state of the decomposition of her body, they couldn't even find DNA on her body except for, I think it was their bone fragments. So they didn't have the ability, and he certainly didn't confess to that in the 11 hours of interrogation, Vinny, so they didn't have enough evidence here. And of course the judge ruled that prior bad acts like other women or allegations of sexual misconduct are not in front of this jury, and that's why we keep hearing, even on cross-examination, the defense bringing up there's no allegations of that here in this case.
But jurors aren't stupid, right? I mean, you can put two and two together. There's a murder. The body is found without the shorts, the underwear on, in the position as you described it. I mean, there's some sick stuff going on here with whoever is responsible for the murder of Molly Tibbetts. To me, that's just the bottom line and would be blatantly obvious to any juror who listens to the evidence in this case. Now, whether or not there's a sexual assault, well, is it even relevant? I mean, it's about what this jury is hearing and what the facts are. And whoever they find is responsible took her clothes off. And why are you taking your clothes? Why are you taking your clothes off? I mean, to me, it's obvious that it's some sick sexual perversion, whether or not there was or was not an assault. Whoever is responsible for what happened to Molly Tibbetts.
Yeah, I think you're right. Jurors have common sense, Vinny, in this case. The evidence that they've seen, the photos they've seen, just the statements of Christian Bahena Rivera saying that he claimed that Molly smiled and waved at him, so he turned his car around, went over to her. He thought she was hot. He described exactly what she was wearing: black shorts, the pink sports bra, hair in a ponytail. That's what the jurors saw pictures of that were found there in the cornfield. Still, some of it on her body, some of it 34 feet away. So I think that it's easy for the jurors to make that conclusion, and possibly could even be argued as a motive. Prosecution doesn't have to present a motive, but maybe they will in closing argument.
All right, let's talk about some of the other evidence. And criminalist Tara Scott also testified today. Let's take a listen. More devastating evidence. To me, this is very compelling.
It really is. It corroborates the story, the statement that Bahena gave to investigators. Remember, the jury heard from former Officer Romero about what he told her about putting her in the cornfield, putting her in the trunk. And that's what this evidence corroborates, Vinny. In his Chevy Malibu, Molly Tibbetts' DNA is found not only inside the trunk, but on the seal right there. The seal lining of the trunk and inside towards the tail light on the liner of the trunk inside. It is interesting that it's only a small amount of blood, though, Vinny, given that the medical examiner is going to tell this jury on Monday that she died of multiple sharp force injuries. So not quite sure why there's not more blood inside the trunk of his car.
But it's there. And it's his car, it's his truck, it's his trunk that he was driving. We've seen the surveillance video, we've seen all of that. And again, it seems a big part of what the defense is trying to do is say this is some sort of a coerced false confession, yet you have now more evidence that is consistent with this so-called forced false confession from at least the argument the defense is going to make, and this completely undermines that.
That's correct. I don't know what theory they're going to come up to overwhelm that, because again, this corroborates the story and the statement. Maybe he wasn't aware that this was happening in his vehicle. Just to point out, there was a court document filed a long time ago where the defense was alleging someone else's DNA was found inside the trunk, and I didn't know really where they were getting with that. Maybe pointing to someone else who took over his car and used it.
Molly Tibbetts probably have the nicest text messages we've ever read. We had a hard time finding something negative about Molly Tibbetts.
The people who commit crimes like this are typically those closest to your victim, right?
A high percentage of the time a victim knows their attacker.
And again, do you have any evidence that Molly Tibbetts knew Christian Bahena?
We had no evidence that they knew each other, no.
But you ruled out Dalton Jack because he was interviewed.
He wasn't interviewed, yes.
You didn't find it a bit ironic that this man who had two tips on, the body was found a quarter mile from his house?
Did you develop any other lead or find any other reason that Molly Tibbetts' blood would have been connected to the vehicle exclusively driven by the defendant?
No.
The evidence that you have that Christian Bahena actually killed Molly Tibbetts came from his mouth, right?
Well, there's physical evidence too, yes.
That puts the knife in his hand?
That puts her blood and DNA in his trunk of his car.
That puts her in the trunk. Agreed?
Yes.
Does it put him stabbing her?
No.
Fitbit did not have her current route, so the route that she was running this particular evening did not have because the user did not upload the map. So what we did is we referenced prior runs that Molly had been on. We were able to determine that this particular route was one that she had run before. After 8:28 p.m., we see the cell phone depart essentially from this tower. It is now almost 5 miles away. The speed, I believe, was around 60 miles an hour, and then at one point it slowed down.
And the error there is indicating a sharp force defect that I found on the skull. It's just in front and above the opening for the right ear.
Wound to the skull, wound penetrating the skull, was that wound in and of itself fatal?
It could have been, yes. My calculation is 9 definitive wounds. I suspect up to 12. What I've done is I've taken white triangle pieces of paper and placed them on the brow where there are these defects. Again, these are all sharp force defects.
And you expect to find significant blood if that blood was the same in the car.
Correct.
Now, is it your assertion that Molly was killed on 385th Street?
I don't know exactly where she was killed.
But it's your assertion that she was abducted on 385th Street?
Yes.
70th Avenue, correct?
Yes.
And Molly's body was found on 460th Avenue, correct?
Yes.
So basically, Wayne Cheney lived about a mile south of where Molly's body was found, and perhaps I think a little bit to the west.
Yes, that's right.
Now, were you involved in any canvassing of 460th Avenue?
Yes.
Did you talk to the residents up and down 460th Avenue?
Yes.
Did you talk to anybody who resided in the 2400 block of 460th Avenue?
I don't believe I did. Somebody probably did, but I don't recall going that far personally.
Would it be important in your training, education, and experience to talk to the people who lived immediately in the area where Molly's body was found?
Yes.
And why is that?
I'm sorry?
Why is that?
Well, we would want to know if they saw anything or had any information that would be useful. Saw anything suspicious around that time?
Do you know whose property Molly's body was found on?
I believe the last name is Bear.
Okay. Do you know who owns the property immediately adjacent to the west of Molly's body?
I don't.
If I gave you the name Ron Pexa, would that jog your memory?
Immediately to the west?
Correct.
Yes, I did go there. I remember talking to him.
You did talk to Ron Pexa?
Yes.
And why should you talk to Mr. Pexa?
I believe we had some information come in about him. I don't recall specifically what it was. I went there with a couple of other agents and we talked to him for, I don't know, a half hour.
Was that recorded?
Not that I know of.
Was a report made of that?
Not by me.
Did Mr. Pexa tell you he was a law enforcement officer?
Yes. Or retired or part-time or I don't remember.
Okay. And the information you received about Mr. Pexa, please tell me what it was.
I don't remember where it came from. I don't remember.
Did the report involve him being sexually violent in the past?
It could have. I don't really remember.
Was this before or after Molly was found dead?
That was before.
Okay. And he lived approximately less than a quarter mile from where her body was found?
I'm not sure about the distance, but nearby.
If his address is 2410 460th Avenue,
that sounds about right.
That's about where her body would have been found.
Yeah, that could be accurate, yeah.
And if Mr. Pexa, I'm assuming that if he had a history of violence against women, that's something you would have followed up on?
Yes.
You recall who the agents were you went there with?
I think it was Agent Valletta from the DCI, and I think Agent Patras from the FBI.
Okay. And you'd agree with me that an investigation of this magnitude, that something as important as investigating and talking to someone who has the allegations against them, like Mr. Pexa, those would be documented. When you think?
I would think. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't.
You weren't the investigating officer, so you necessarily wouldn't do it, right?
I didn't. No, I didn't. I don't think I had anything on Mr. Pexa.
Okay. But you had a lot on Mr. Cheney.
Not really. I mean, he was interviewed at least once that I know of. And I know he was looked at very closely.
He was
very closely. He was looked at and eventually cleared.
Okay. He was interviewed at least twice, right?
I think so.
His property was searched, right?
I believe so.
And to your recollection, Ron Pexa, his property was, or wasn't searched, was it?
I believe we did.
And can you tell me what that property search entailed?
We were in his house. We walked through some outbuildings.
Was that quarter mile stretch between where Molly's body was ultimately found and Mr. Pexa's house, was that searched by volunteers?
Could have been. I know we didn't do it that day.
Was Mr. Pexa ever brought into the fire department and officially interviewed?
Not that I know of.
Do you know if he denied any type of sexual deviance or violence against women?
I don't remember him being asked that specifically, but it's possible.
Yeah.